welcome to the Celebrate Arkansas podcast. We're so excited to have our very first episode. My name is Jocelyn Murphy. I'm the managing editor.
I'm Justin Froning, and I'm our creative director.
And we're so excited for our very first episode of our brand new podcast to be welcoming such wonderful friends of Celebrate, Joe and Scott Rampy, the founders of the Rampy MS Research Foundation and founders of the TriFest for MS.
Thank you for having us. This is very cool.
We're so glad to have you.
Thank you guys so much for agreeing to be here with us. And we were just talking about before we started, we were so excited to have you guys join us because, like I just said, you're such close friends of Celebrate. We work with you guys all the time. We're such close partners for the TriFest. So this is a really important and special relationship to us.
Well, us too, because I consider you guys just an extension of what we do as a family foundation. And it's nice to hear that being reciprocated on your guys' side too. So it's a really cool partnership.
Yes. So we know you guys. Can you give us just a short little introduction to who you are? You don't have to do the whole thing because we're here to talk about your foundation. We're here to talk about the TriFest. But who are you guys? How long have you been in Northwest Arkansas?
Hi, I'm Joe Rampy. I'm the CEO, Chief Encouraging Officer for the Rampy MS Research Foundation. Thanks for having us.
I'm Scott. People usually just introduce me as Joe's husband. Which I'm pretty cool with that.
That's a good title.
Says a lot for her, for sure. But we've been married 40 years. We've had an amazing life together. But in those 40 years, MS gave us a detour when Joe was about 34, I think. And I think when you reach a road like that or a divide in the road, you can make two choices to kind of either pick yourself up and move on and try to do something good with it, or you can curl up on a ball and say, woe's me. And we elected to do the first choice. And so the whole work around the foundation is our ability as a couple to just not give in to the pressures that MS gives people. It's a very patient disease. It just kind of waits in a corner for you to be vulnerable. And Joe and I just said, we're not going to do that. So everything around the foundation is to jumpstart the research and that work that our research partners are trying to do to end this disease.
MS stops people from moving. Mm-hmm. Our foundation wants to move forward to a cure for MS.
That's a good way to say it. MS stops people from moving. It's very appropriate.
And before the diagnosis, you were both, are still, but you're very active, avid runner, avid biker. So that was, I have to imagine, even more devastating.
Yes, because it stopped me from moving. For 8 days, I was in bed, not able to move, not able to walk, not able to be mobile for things I love to do. And so doing what we do with the endurance sports for other people makes sense. I was an athlete when I got diagnosed. I knew what it was to run, to be mobile, to get to where I was going. And it just made sense. Scott says he has MS too. He says that. And that works because everyone in our family is touched by this illness. Sometimes I don't make things. I'm not there. I'm not able to show up. Fatigue's hard. So it affects everyone. And the reason we're involved in what we do is because it affects family as well. Through history, family members may be affected by MS. I don't want that for my family. My family's growing, and as they grow, I don't want them to know MS and be diagnosed with MS. And if they do, they'll have a way to look forward to a cure.
I love that. Your title couldn't be more appropriate. You're one of the most encouraging people I've ever met. And it's consistent, it's genuine, and that's who you are as a couple. As people cross the finish line, they see your faces, they see that encouragement as people train and go from maybe being a completely non-athlete to feeling like they can accomplish something because you've shown them it can be done. I think that's such a really beautiful thing, and something that you both encapsulate so well.
That is so kind. Thank you.
That's the DNA of TriFest for
Right.
MS. I mean, we think that, but it's really cool when other people tell us that.
Right.
It's like,
And it's not only us, it's our community. As you know, we've been lifted up by Celebrate Magazine in many ways that remind us that this is a community illness. This is a community cure. We're grateful for you.
Absolutely.
Well, it's not only your encouragement, but it's you guys are so inspiring too. Not just like you said, Justin, at the finish line. I've been at the TriFest for MS kickoff breakfast the last few years, where we're kind of telling people, hey, this is coming up. You got to participate. You really want to be part of this. And that's where I've seen the two of you speak and share your story a few years in a row now. And everyone is moved every time, but it's emotional, but you're still inspiring and uplifting, even in talking about your own journey. And I think people really are drawn to you guys because of everything you've been saying about your personalities and just how warm you are. And
Thank you.
they want to be part of it. It makes people want to be part of the movement.
Yeah.
We are inclusive. Everyone matters.
Well, and it's everyone's overcoming something.
Yes.
Big or small. Maybe it's just that you lack the enthusiasm to pull yourself to try to do something new, or maybe like with myself, I'd had an ankle injury for years, and you guys inspired me to fight through that, to do my first 5K, and it really got me the running bug. I mean, and those are
That's awesome.
Wow.
you never know, like those little
Good.
little things that make such a big difference. And it's not always, that's not the same disease I have or this or that, but it's the concept of fighting through something that's, and then being part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We get a big inspiration out of the TriFest event itself, just because, when you fill out the registration form to actually sign up to do it, there's a series of questions on there. And I'm sure the participants are like, why are they asking all these questions? Because one on there very specific says, why are you doing TriFest for MS? And that's my favorite part of the registration, because I see everybody that registers, I see those. And, sometimes people don't answer them, but most of the time they're overcoming a cancer bout, or they're lost a loved one in their family, or tragic car wreck, broken bones. I mean, the list of things that bring people to the start line is so bigger than just what multiple sclerosis is. It's inspiring to see folks using that, a silly triathlon to make a statement for themselves and their family and their community, to try to move beyond that roadblock.
We're so gifted. We're so blessed by their stories, and to cheer them into the finish line and to know that story and to know how it has affected them and their family. We are off the wall with excitement for them. It's a good day.
You said we're inclusive too. That's such a big thing about the TriFest as well. It's for all ages.
Yes.
It's for all fitness levels. You can do this. You can participate in this. And that's so fun and inspiring in itself too.
Oh, for sure.
And I just wanted to do something bigger than myself. And I asked Scott, do you think I can do a triathlon? He didn't say no. And I said yes. And I started training. So I tell everyone, I remind them, it's not a competition. It's a completion. That completion is going to be bigger than yourself. It's going to highlight what you've done, and you'll feel good about it. You'll be with a team of people that is doing what you're doing. They're trying to think outside themselves and do better. At the finish line, I knew it was time to do something more. It was finishing with multiple sclerosis, and it was starting for our foundation to raise funds to make a change for multiple sclerosis in our area and beyond. And here we are today, 14 years later.
That's awesome. I mean, I love that it had such an organic beginning.
Yes.
It was just, and that to me underscores what you've said many times that has always stuck with me, is that it's not about the competition, it's about a completion.
Absolutely. For each of us.
Yeah, I love that, because that's really what especially that first one encapsulated.
That was our dream at that time, and it became reality at the finish line.
That's
So blessed by this community and the people that love and raise us up.
So after that first triathlon that you completed, how many people have now completed the triathlon over the years? I mean,
Well, last year I think we had 1,200. The biggest we've ever had was the pre-COVID year, 2019. We had 1,500, and those were race entries. So, I may be counting one person 3 times, but that's kind of how we keep track of how many entries. The measure in our mind of how big the race is. So those 1,500 entries, I suspect this year, just based on what I'm looking at from registration numbers, it'll probably be in the top. I would say it'll be the top 3 as far as numbers.
so thousands of people.
1,200, 1,300 people.
At that time, we were voted one of the top triathlons in the southern states of America.
It's incredible.
It's been a big deal, but it's more of a big deal to us to see people coming together for a cause.
It definitely helped us. I think Triathlete magazine, which doesn't exist anymore, but back at that time, they rated our triathlon one of the best ones in the country for a beginner, which was really good because we tried to set it up for the beginner to the very experienced, competitive person, and everywhere in between. So all ages, kids were involved.
What are you talking about,
well.
the paratries?
The kids' race has really taken off. The race director and I were just chatting yesterday by text, and she was predicting that we're going to have 400 kids this year, which would be massive. I mean, we've never had 400 kids do the race, so we're trying to figure out logistically, how we get 400 kids to the course. But one element of TriFest that really makes it special is that it's an adaptive para division for kids or adults, which isn't unusual for triathlon, but it's unusual for a triathlon organization to actually be prepared to handle that. So to have that division, you have to be willing to, accept disabled athletes. You have to be able to alter your course. You have to have volunteers, and we're willing to do all those things. So you never know what type of athlete is going to come to the race that year that will be in that category.
All inclusive.
So, we're constantly monitoring the registration, and, there's a question in there about, what's your disability, and the para division, if they sign up for that, then we know to kind of reach out and see what the issue may be. But it's just a highlight of the triathlon every year for me to see, kids with, it could be Down syndrome, it could be autism, it could be cerebral palsy. I mean, the list goes on. Athletes that come to us and have done the race through us, but it just warms our heart when they're able to get in the water, do the race, cross the finish line. You see a big smile on the athlete and the parents,
Right.
Because it's just so challenging for them to help their son or daughter, do something that brings them joy. So.
Yeah, you're creating a bonding experience.
Oh yeah, for
I hope so.
for sure.
Memorable experience.
Well, and speaking of bonding experiences, one of the things that we've got to be partners with you on is the Celebrate Arkansas Corporate Relay Challenge. And one thing we've seen, and I know you guys can probably speak to more, but is there's training up to that with these CPG companies.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and the camaraderie that comes out of that has been really cool to see.
Yeah.
The training is fun because you get to connect with athletes in a more longer period. Our training series is 4 weeks, and then the corporate teams are invited to join in that process. And then we have we call it a mock tri in week 4, and they can come and actually do a triathlon in a practice environment. It's not considered a race at that point, but they can just practice it for the actual race day. So it just kind of calms the nerves, gives everybody a base of how this is going to work. And again, our organization really benefited a lot from the corporate community and what the CPGs and the supplier communities around this area support us. I think we had 30-some teams last year. We're always shooting for about 50 teams every year. And this year being no different. So hopefully our kickoff will make it an impressionable splash at the kickoff, and we'll have more teams sign up.
Speaking of splash, at the kickoff, we are doing a short triathlon where they will swim, bike, and run
Yeah, in a fun way.
in a fun way, in a very short way, in a pool way.
Yeah,
Pool.
just kind of
Okay,
emulate the triathlon in a very fun way at the pool there with 4 companies. I'll keep the company secret at this point until we get to May 9th, but three people will do it. One will swim down, one will get on the swim noodle and run down, and then the last one will, I guess, the first one will emulate a bike going through the water, and the last one will run through the water.
If you can't have
That should be fun.
you might as well not be involved.
Yeah, right.
Because
And I've seen the people at these companies take.
It's so serious.
They're very serious about it.
serious.
If they won the trophy one year and then they don't win it the next year, immediately day of they're like, we're coming back next year. We're winning next year.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very good, friendly competition. I always tell the company when I'm talking to them, like, you guys compete all year long in the aisles of Walmart for space, for shelf space. I mean, that's the name of the game in the supplier world. I said, why not just come out and compete in a more friendly way,
Right.
To benefit a nice cause? So they're like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So,
It's fun. It's a fun way to do it.
And it does benefit the cause. The race is amazing. All of the events are amazing. But when you guys share the story of what the foundation has done, that's also really incredible. Can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah. Me. So what we do every year in the past, this year or last year, we started doing the way we give the checks to the doctors a little differently. We used to just kind of parse it out throughout the year. So now, because we have about 7 events a year, most of them in Arkansas, and this year there'll be 1 outside of Arkansas. But we've decided to try to use the Run the Check initiative. That's the event that is Giving Tuesday every November, where we literally will run a check down to Little Rock from Bentonville. There's 25 plus runners involved in that.
That's cool.
And it's such a cool way to deliver a check to UMS.
It's very uncommon.
So all of our fundraisers throughout the year goes towards that effort. And then that's how we give UMS their money. And then because of the location of Northwestern up in Chicago and University of California in San Francisco, we haven't
You guys don't run to that?
ran or by although it's been suggested.
Don't give them any ideas. No.
We have coursed out a bike map to Chicago. Just this is a little teaser. We usually just send their checks in the mail.
Maybe for the 15th anniversary.
Yeah, there you go.
That sounds big.
But yeah, this year we're going to try to give. Our goal is to give $150,000 to these 3 researchers.
It's amazing.
And I don't know how we'll partial it up, but we probably give a little more to Northwestern and California, just because the University of California, San Francisco is the largest MS research facility in the world. They have 212 researchers focused every day on it. Northwestern has about 12, and UMS has 2. So we've kind of partial it out to all 3, but probably a little more to those 2 outside Arkansas.
Because I have multiple sclerosis, I feel like a curator for those funds. Like, what would they want to do with their money? Where would they want it to be invested? And I feel very blessed again that we get to give the money to what we all have in common. MS is a snowflake disease. It affects everyone differently, a lot of different snowflakes, but we all have something in common. We got there with the disease having multiple scars on our brain, on our neurological system, changing the messaging of our bodies. So if we can invest in the same, what will help each of us, that's what I want to invest in. So if I can be, if those scars can be cured in some way, I don't have to have the same scars as everyone. So that's where I put my prayer and my money. And I feel like that I'm representing each of us with MS. We want it to change. We're change makers. How are we changing? We're changing MS with a cure that will affect each person with MS. That's my hope.
Mine too.
Mine too.
Mine too.
Ditto.
And all nonprofits have, there's a lot of organizational work, and there's a lot of behind the scenes logistics going on, but the foundation has a really impressive percentage of the money that goes to the cause. Can you talk about that too?
The model is pretty simple and it's really hard to do. For most of our events, we try to raise enough in sponsorship money to cover the cost of the event so that we can tell the person that's registering for whatever the event is, we're going to earmark as close to 100% as we can to the research that I identified. And, you know, sometimes it's really hard. The TriFest event, we're in our 13th year. It's grown massively. The expenses around putting on a triathlon that magnitude is very large. And so the last several years, probably since COVID, our expense structure has been a little higher than what we've been able to raise in sponsorship. So we really are trying to work closely with companies and trying to bring in new companies and asking companies that have been with us for a while to maybe raise the bar on their giving if it's all possible. Because we really believe in that model and we try to adhere to that model. I think it resonates greatly with the athletes. I know we hear a lot from the athletes, like they feel good when they give their money for registration, knowing that it's going to impact research. And we try to bring these doctors in every year. We've had trouble getting University of California, San Francisco here because it's just so far. And the lead researcher, Jonah Chan, he's a young dad with 3 toddlers. You know, Labor Day weekend, you can imagine how challenging that would be for him to get here. But it's so cool when the doctors are there and they hand an award to someone that's won it on the podium. It just kind of creates that circle of what we're trying to do from a...
The doctors have been there. They're on the podium with the winners. They're handing out the awards. That's impressive to me.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing.
Doctors take their time to visit our triathlon and hand out awards. We can't do what we do without everyone.
Right.
Makes sense.
Well, and it's amazing to me to think of something that began just as something very organic and very local, very family focused, that now you're benefiting research centers around the country.
Amazing.
With substantial financial contributions. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because these researchers, we've learned so much about how research works in the country, but the doctors at these places we research, they're so appreciative of the funds because sometimes it's, you know, a big check, sometimes a small check, but it really gives them flexibility because what happens at each of these 3 institutions, the money is awarded and given to the doctors themselves, not personally, but it's attached to the university, but they have access to spend it as they want. Most of their research is funded by much bigger people than us, and there's big grants attached to that, $250,000, $500,000, $2 million. But with that comes, you know, university grants that they have to allocate to the school they are associated with. So our checks, even though they're small, they're so appreciated by these research doctors because if they see a need to buy a new machine for their lab, well, they go buy it with the money that we've given them, and we've seen that through the years. We see videos from a couple of our researchers where they've been able to buy new machinery to benefit their labs. It helps them process data faster. And that's just kind of a cool model there because most of the time these universities wouldn't know of an organization our size because the schools put so many high limits on them on what they can go after. So most of them are about $250,000 and up. So they wouldn't even reach out to us if we were a normal nonprofit. So that's a lot of information about research and how it works, but it's fascinating to me just as I learned.
It is, because I think a lot of people don't, or most people don't know that. You know, I've heard people also, knowing it's a good cause they want to give their money to, kind of express an idea of, hope this money's going where I am being told it's going, so you don't know what happened. You being a normal person who just gives to a nonprofit, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And I think that's really helpful. And like you said, fascinating.
It's effective. When I was trying to raise funds, the very first year that I tried, I did a walk, an MS walk. And I was a teacher at the time, and I had $100 that I had to donate to them to walk around a small lake that I walked around every day anyway. And I thought, I can do that. Gave $100. And I thought, I had the same hope. I wanted it to go to research. This is an illness. This is a progressive illness. I'm not going to get better. I'm going to progress. And I found out that only 11% of my $100 went to research. And that's what changed us. We wanted to be more effective. Mm-hmm. We wanted to do research that we knew that our money was going to make a difference. And this was the way to do it. It was a new model. We had to start something different. And it took this guy, my husband, to look at it and say, we can do better. We can do more. And not 11% of $100. That was a disappointment for me at the time. And I just wanted to become a disruptor because I didn't want to follow the MS walk. I didn't want 11% of my $100 going to research. So we gathered arms and had Celebrate Magazine follow us and do better. What a great joy it's been. Triathlon is many things, but we do the five F's. It's fellowship, it's friends, it's fast. You swim, bike, ride, and it's fast. It's 2 more F's, Scott. 2 more F's. Fun. It's fun. As you've said, it's fun. And that matters to us, that we look at that every year.
I think it's faith.
It's faith.
I was going to say, yeah.
It is faith. And so those F5s get me through anyway each year. Even though it's another year, it's another opportunity to share those 5 F's and to get to a better place.
That's awesome. Well, and there's been advancements happening constantly with the research, right?
Yeah, the research has been amazing. Joe benefits from a drug that was developed in 2018. It was the newest, I think it was 2018. Ocrevus is the drug. It was a breakthrough for a lot of reasons. But now there's about 20 drugs that a neurologist can pick from to care for someone that has multiple sclerosis. But what's happened now in the research world is a lot of the funding, not just ours, but NIH, National Human Society, CDC, all those big grantors, the research is being allocated to the cure side of the disease and less to the pharmaceuticals. They feel like they've got enough pharmaceuticals to address everybody's need maybe with the disease. And so...
Because everyone's different with MS, that snowflake illness.
So they're trying to really break through the cure aspect. And it's all related to, Joe touched on that, the snowflake disease, which is absolutely true. Everybody's different when they have multiple sclerosis to what their symptoms are. But the silver lining or silver bullet breakthrough will be when the researchers can isolate that myelin loss that's in our brain stem and spinal cord. I mean, that's kind of a common denominator with people who have multiple sclerosis. And Northwestern and the University of California, San Francisco, they've isolated a mice model where they've been able to repair it and stop it. And that's really a breakthrough in an animal model. And so now they're trying to translate that to a human model, which is it takes time, and time being years, not days or months. But that was a major breakthrough.
They see it. They've seen it in mice, so it's coming. I know it won't be today or tomorrow. That's okay.
Yeah.
I want it to be effective.
In our lifetime.
Yes. And we were told that 20 years ago, that there's nothing out there. There are treatments coming, but there's no cure for MS. And that still said there is no cure for MS, but it's coming. They told us it would be at least 20 years. The doctors said it will be at least 20 years before you see anything. positive in that cure.
So we're in the 13th year of 20.
13th of 20. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, 7 more years.
Yes.
It seems like a very hopeful position, though, kind of maybe hoping to be on the precipice of something's about to happen, and maybe it's partially because the funds that we raise with our event, it supports that.
That'd be awesome.
I think it's bigger than that. Bigger than ourselves is maybe the philanthropy that others see us do and our groups of people do. Maybe we've inspired others to invest in what their needs are and to be philanthropists in that area.
You've definitely inspired others.
There's something out there for each of us to invest in and to lift others up. I feel we try to do that.
Well, and that's something we talk about a lot at Celebrate, because it's such a major part of the community that we work with is the philanthropy going on here, the heart for the community that people demonstrate all the time. And Scott, you talked about it at the beginning, your relationship and the foundation's relationship with Northwest Arkansas. Can you talk about how the community has supported you guys throughout?
Well, when I think about the triathlon Joe did in 2011, I mean, I can just see the names and the people and the faces that were at her triathlon that are still involved with us today as friends, family. And that's the thing that's again, it's the secret DNA of our organization. There's just so many friends of ours and family members of ours that are behind what we do. And I know a lot of people look at Joe and I as the face of the organization, but there's a whole bunch of people behind us that are here today that lift us up and move and propel the organization forward. That's just amazing.
For an illness that isn't so mobile all the time, that mobilizes us. The people that have picked us up to rise us up and walk with us and to mobilize with us. Movement.
I mean, if you think about TriFest, 1,500 people met there maybe this year. That's probably 275 volunteers. I mean, just our families alone, we'll have 24 family members that come in and out of town just to be here and help, and some of them are racing. So sometimes we just get overwhelmed with how much love the community showers on us and our friends. It's like, okay, are they ever going to just dump us because they're tired of, us asking them to volunteer or helping us fundraise, or they're just resolute in their determination like we are to help us with this organization and the cause, which is really, really spectacular.
We've talked mostly about the TriFest that takes place Labor Day weekend. That's the big event. But you said you've got 7 events throughout the year. Can you quickly tell us some of those other events people need to be on the lookout for?
We just finished the Gravel Fest for MS. This is the newest event, 3 years old. It's our gravel ride from Bentonville up into Missouri. And we just did it this weekend. And it's what I would call one of our micro events, kind of small, but we raised $4,000 for MS Research.
It's not small.
That's awesome.
It's not small.
Yeah, it all adds up. So it's
right.
It's small by an event, but it's all, collectively it means a lot. So the next one will be outside of Arkansas, in Columbia, Missouri. This is the first time that we've been a beneficiary of a race that's been resurrected there. It's called back in the day in the 80s. It was called Tri-Zoo. And so today it's Tri-Zoo for MS. We're in partnership with Heartland Racing and Keaton Garrett up in Springfield, Missouri. Resurrected that race and asked us to be a part of it. So we have a piece of it or a play in it, but we're not the full organizers of it. So that'll happen May 4th. At one point, it was the largest triathlon pool swim in the country.
Wow.
It was massive. And so that happens May 4th. They're still accepting registrations. And then after May 4th, we come back. June 1st is our kids' Splash and Dash race. This is kind of like the feeder program for kids to dip their toe in the water, see if they like it, so that they can come back on Labor Day to do. What's that?
Literally, yes,
literally. So you can do that ages 2 up to 13 this year. We have a Strider division. 2 to 4-year-olds don't swim. It's just a bike and a run. But fine.
And if you don't know the definition of competition, show up there because those 2-year-olds are on it.
Yes,
so on it.
And so that's the feeder program to TriFest, and it happens June 1st, and people can still register for that on our website, researchms.org. And then after that, TriFest for MS happens August 30th, 31st, and the 1st. And we have 207 people signed up already. It's going to be big.
Which is a good number right now because they're doing all their other events, and then they hop in TriFest.
Yeah. And then the last two events are kind of non-traditional. It's we do a disco ball for MS. You guys know how many galas there are in Northwest Arkansas. Every weekend there's a gala. So we tried to put a new spin on it last year and just make it a fun, celebratory kind of thing. So we're going to come back with a second year disco ball for MS at Dayton School. And that'll happen October 26th. And it's just a great time. It's the weekend before Halloween.
Get your disco costume together.
I think the adults will like getting dressed up and dancing with disco.
Absolutely. The dance floor has grown. We've had to get bigger.
Yeah, doubled it.
Because everyone was on the floor last
It's a good
year.
problem to have.
Good problem to have.
And then the last event is the one I mentioned called Run the Check, which is probably just the most fun, most grassroots
Speaking of organic,
event.
this just blew up.
So November 25th and 26th, we'll leave the square in Bentonville on the 25th, midnight, and run all the way through the night, 17 towns, and we'll deliver a check to the doctors in Little Rock the next morning.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so fun. And that's our lineup.
It's a busy lineup.
Yeah,
It's a busy
busy
calendar.
lineup.
Yes, it is. Thanks.
But you can follow us on Instagram. That's where we publish most of the news and stories. And then our website, again, that's researchms.org. You can register for all of the events right there.
Would you guys mind, even if, I don't know how pervasive the disease is, but I know several people or loved ones of people in my life. I know people in my life, loved ones of several people in my life who have been affected. And I feel like as I get older, that number is only going to grow. So as someone who took two people who took a hopeful stance and a hopeful path forward in attacking the disease, what's your advice, or what would you say to other people if they've already had their diagnosis, if they love someone who's already had a diagnosis, if they get a diagnosis, what do you tell them?
I mean, from my perspective, you tell them it's not the end of the world, because I think when we were initially diagnosed, you go into panic mode and you immediately think, oh my gosh.
Stay off the internet.
My life is over.
Right.
Things are going to be much different, and stay off the internet. It's a good one.
That's
I would tell them to be very determined and resolute, if they can, to find a neurologist that will be with them for the life of the disease, if that's possible. Sometimes it's harder said than done. And we've been with Joe's neurologist since 2006, 2007. And before that, we kind of jumped around neurologists. It was not a great experience. So trying to find a neurologist that you bond with, that can be with you for longevity of disease.
But you're not treated like a patient. You have more to you than that. You're a person. And that's what you want your neurologist to see, the person of you. Yeah. Because if they don't see it, you're not going to be able to exercise it. Exercise. Do what you can. Be that athlete that you are. Be that athlete every day. So if you're fatigued, which MS, total fatigue, constantly, you have to fight that. And that's what you're going to do daily. So exercise, movement. What can I do? Maybe I can just sit in a chair and pick my feet up and down, my knees up, down, touch my knee to my elbow. Those are going to help your neurons, impress your neurons, and maybe heal them without medication or drugs. That I highly suggest movement, because that's what is healing what has been broken.
I think of the people that we probably get a call once a week from someone that is asking the same questions for someone in their family.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, you know, find a network of folks that support you. It may be someone in your immediate family, husband, spouse, and whoever, but try to find a network with your family that supports you being active, supports you being healthy, because exercise, food, supportive network, a neurologist, I would say those would be the 4 components that I would try to surround myself with if I was newly diagnosed.
That doctor can be a physical therapist, neurologist, someone that's available that knows what this illness can do and how to combat it.
Yeah. And don't be afraid of the drug route either, because like I said, the drugs are very good, and we're not paid by any pharmaceuticals or organization. I'm speaking from just a husband who's someone that's benefiting from the drugs. But some people, you know, shy away. They don't want to go that route, but don't be afraid to pursue the drug therapy, because they're really good drugs.
Well, they can be. It's the B cell. The B cell is what you want to stop. Your immune disease, that it's an immune disease, so you have to stop that immune from combating yourself. That's hard to do, but those treatments can offer something for you to stop that immune disease from taking over.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys so much. I mean,
Well, this is fun.
yeah, it means a lot to do this. This is something we've been excited about doing with Celebrate Arkansas for a while. You know, letting people hear the voices and getting to see the conversations that we have that Jocelyn then uses to write the stories that go into our magazine. It feels great to be able to introduce people that don't know you to such amazing people that are truly inspiring. And I'm grateful for you both very much. We as a company are as well, but our whole team loves you guys. So
Well, that's nice. Thank you very much.
Good to
Mutual
be
love
loved.
from this side too.
Yes.
we appreciate you guys so much, and I'm grateful for the over the years getting to spend so much time with you on and learning new aspects of your story. But as someone who's gotten to know you for 8 years now, you guys are as consistent as it gets, and that's huge. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Well, Scott, one more time, do you want to say where people can find your information, where they can keep up with everything?
Yeah, go to our website, researchms.org, or you can follow us on Instagram at WeResearchMS. That's probably the 2 best avenues to keep up with our stories and news and events.
Okay. And now everyone knows all the events coming up, and they know that we need more sponsors involved.
Yes,
So
come on,
hopefully all
sponsors.
of the listeners will get engaged in both of those. And again,
Volunteers matter. Volunteers. And we call them encouragers because that's what we get to do when we volunteer. We get to applaud and raise our voices to bring them in to finish.
wonderful. Well, again, Joe and Scott, thank you guys so much for being our very first guests
Yes,
on Celebrate Arkansas podcast.
Hope you'll have us back.
Baby,
Thank you, guys.
thank you
Good job.
so much.